Despite losing in a shootout, the Carolina Hurricanes extend their point streak to 4 games. There were some good, there were some questionables, but in the end, there were some big milestone moments. So we'll talk about that on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hawkers. Also the co-host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. On today's show, we're going to recap the Hurricanes' 4-3 loss in the shootout to the Blackhawks, talk about a big moment for Joel Nystrom, and how the team, were able to claw their way and force overtime to basically at least get a point in the contest. Also going to hear from Joel Nystrom postgame after his milestone moment of his first NHL goal of his career, and also get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour as well. So, Hurricanes came into this game with a 3-game winning streak. The Blackhawks playing some okay hockey over the last few games. Everyone remembers the episode from Wednesday when I talked to Brooke Laferno, the Chicago Blackhawks beat writer, also at the Hockey Writers. Talk about Spencer Knight, talk about Lee potentially Mikheyev and Connor Bedard, and a lot of those other guys. As we were going into that game. And, it was the first matchup of the season between the two sides. You're kind of wondering how this game was going to go. It was going to be a tight contest. Both goalies, with depending if it was going to be Bussy or Anderson. Anderson gets the start. Spencer Knight gets the start as well for the Hawks. And the Hurricanes came out flying, 29 hits, Alexander Nikishin with a couple big ones, Andrei Svechnikov with a couple big hits. Blackhawks did get some, extra block shots. And in the end, the Hurricanes had to come back to tie it all three times in regulation. And thankfully for the Canes, it wasn't like it took them a long time to get the equalizer. I mean, talking first goal, Mikheyev shorthanded, 11-12. Just a little over a minute later, Joel Nystrom scores his first goal of his career. Nick Lardis scores, 4.5 minutes into the second. Jordan Stahl, less than 5 minutes later, ties it. Connor Murphy in the third, 13:38 in. And, 42 seconds later, you're looking at Jackson Blake tying it back up. So it was a lot of quick responses for the Hurricanes. I would say that's probably a lot of the good for the Kings was the fact that it wasn't like it took them the whole period or it took them toward the end of the game to score 3 goals to tie it up. This was like Hawks score, Hurricanes, within 5 minutes hit the equalizer. You wish that you saw a lead from the Canes. Unfortunately, they never let it at all in this one. It was just a lot of chasing for a little bit towards the end of the game. This was, where the Hurricanes, they outshot the Blackhawks 13-4 in the first, 12-8 in the second. Unfortunately, got outshot 8-5 in the third, and then of course in overtime outshot 2-1. But it was just one of those things where they dominated the faceoff dots, 65%, 39 for 60. They had 5 power plays, and I think they had a total of like 6 shots the entire time. I think Ryan Henkel even brought it up too. From the hockey news, saying that the unfortunate 2 days off in between the Buffalo game that was at 1:30, and then the Hawks game was at playing the Hawks was at 7 on Thursday. I think that kind of slowed it down to a really red hot power play. I mean, they're still. You're still talking top 15 in the league for the Hurricanes. It's just unfortunate where you see a team that was scoring almost every other game on the power play get 5 opportunities and they come up empty with only 6 shots. But to give the Blackhawks credit, they are second in the penalty kill for a reason. I think after the game, I think they're now first. And me and Brooke kind of talked about on the Wednesday show is that's one of the big things for the Blackhawks is, yeah, their record is sub 500, but their 5-on-5 play has been all right for them. But it was mainly the special teams has kind of been their bread and butter, and you kind of saw it. Hurricanes only had one penalty, and PK went 1 for 1. You love to see it, but it was just the Blackhawks doing their thing. You got Connor Murphy with a long reach, Alex Vlasic, very tall guy with a long reach. They were just making it tough on the Hurricanes. So I think that's what kind of didn't really help out a whole lot too. Is just they try to set stuff up, but the Hawks kind of showed why they're the number 2 penalty kill in the league right now number 1. So you kind of wish you had a little bit more on the shootout, but it is what it is. For me, it's just at least the Hurricanes didn't kind of just roll over and kind of let this game go sideways, or however you really want to look at it. But I mean, in the end, you got a point. You extend the streak to 4, and you kind of move on from there. And you got some big saves from Freddie Anderson throughout the game, big saves in the shootout. It'd been great if you got the win for him, but at least it was one of those things where he kind of kept you in the game. I guess, did you get some quick answers? A lot of great plays. Logan Stankoven does the wraparound, gets to the Jackson Blake on the far side. Jordan Stahl, 2-on-1 opportunity with him in Sheffield. You see it's Connor Bedard. He decides to shoot. Absolutely snipes it on Spencer Knight for his 11th of the year. Jackson Blake's up to 16 goals. But the big one was Joel Nystrom. Hurricanes, great board battle behind with Willem Carrier. Finds it to the Sperry Kotkaniemi. And then, KK finds Nystrom, ran the left face-off circle and hits an absolute ripper on Knight to get his first NHL goal in his first 36 games. And that's a big one for him because he's been 1-1 for a while. And it's crazy to think, too, that you look at where Joel Nystrom has been just coming to North America since last year. He plays in Sweden, finishes out his loan deal, comes over, plays 4 games with the Wolves last year. And then he comes into this season, expecting to play in Chicago. You get the plethora of injuries on the blue line. You get Jacob Slavin out for a long time. Jalen Chatfield's out at one point in that process. Shane Goss is spare. Like, you were having to go to Charles Alexis Legault. You had to go down to Joel Nystrom, and Nystrom, played an extended period of time. You're talking 30 games at that point of him playing, and he played so well that he got a 4-year contract extension, which is great for him. For the fact that you're talking your first full season in North America, you play in the NHL, you slide in seamlessly, and you earn yourself a contract. And now you're looking at game 36, and lo and behold, gets his first NHL goal, which is amazing to see. And the thing is, you look at how many games he's played in North America between, the NHL, the American. He's played 36 NHL games, and he's played 10 in the AHL. That's crazy to think, the fact that he's played 46 total games in North America, and 80% of them at least are in the national. That's crazy to think about, but that's just how good he's been. And you don't really know how guys are going to be until they get the opportunity. And just with all the injuries early on in the season, the blue line, Joel Nystrom just slides in, gets the extension, and now he's got 1 goal and 9 points in his first 36 games of his career. And you're excited to see what he can do for the Hurricanes moving forward. And I mean, with a couple guys going to last year of their contracts next year, do you probably going to see him in Chicago for the most part, and then where he's at after that, who knows? But and of course, anything can change between now and next season. Maybe you do see Joel Nystrom a lot more, but you love to see it for him to be able to do that. Jackson Blake's on 16 goals this year. He's going to blow by his 17 goals and 34 points from last year. It's going to be, I almost feel like it's going to be 25 goals and at least 45 or 50 points for Jackson Blake in his sophomore year. He's been playing very, very well. Unfortunately, in the shootout, the Hurricanes do get one, but in the end, it's just one of those things where Oliver Moore gets the one to, Connor Bedard extends it after Hurricanes scored in the second round, and then Oliver Moore in round 6 kind of ends it, gets the Hawks their second point. I don't know how you don't go with, it's just the shootout, the group that the Hurricanes ran out. I'm just kind of curious on that one because you're looking at like, Jackson Blake doesn't score, Andrei Svechnikov doesn't, Jarvis, Miller, Stankovic, Jankowski. I don't know how you don't go with Nikolai Ehlers somewhere in there, but I mean, it is what it is. At least you got one from Svech. Jarvis and Miller were so close. It's just unfortunate the puck rolls off of them. Stankovic, Jankowski right under the glove of Spencer Knight. In the end, Oliver Moore wins it. So it is what it is. Like I said, the Hurricanes got the point. Now you just move on from there and see what happens next. But after the game, the Hurricanes media did meet with Joel Nystrom. So stick around. We'll listen to that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode every game day during the NFL playoffs. FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get on the action because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boost you want to apply. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen today, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. It's an access to an ad-free audio feed of Locked On Hurricanes, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. It's an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show, along with other shows within the network. So tap the link in the show notes or the description to learn more and sign up today. Now, welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Following his first NHL goal of his career, Joel Nystrom met with media. So without further ado, let's listen, and then we're going to react to it right now.
Did your first career NHL goal, obviously not the ending you want, but how was that feeling in the moment to have the first one getting here in the big leagues?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to get my first goal. I've been waiting for it, but it was a great pass from KK, and I have a lot of space there, so I just try to shoot it and have to see it went in.
A little connection with him, and you had your first NHL point. I know Coach made a goal now.
Yeah.
Kind of assist for you. It's kind of nice to get that little connection with him.
It's gonna nave him.
Finns and Swedes are known for doing that stuff for each other.
How do you feel like this season's kind of progressed for you? Obviously, I don't know if you ever expected to make the NHL coming into this season, but you'd have this really good chunk of time, and then obviously got that big contract out of it.
Yeah, I'm happy for the season so far. I just try to play a simple game, and the teammates helped me very well. So just try to keep going and be better every day.
How about your partner, Nikishin? He had a pretty big night too. I guess maybe sent a little message not to drop the gloves with him.
No, he's playing great every night, and I think me and him playing good together, we get to know each other better and better. So yeah, I like playing with him.
You had the green light to shoot, it seems like, right from the get-go. You've had a lot of shot attempts. Did it feel like you were due for one eventually here coming soon?
Yeah.
Big thank you to Joel Nystrom and the Carolina Hurricanes. And yeah, you can definitely tell that he was finally glad to get that monkey off the back, because every guy wants to score a goal, or rather if you're a forward or a defenseman, or even a goalie likes to score a goal too. But for the fact that, he's been kind of pushing, he's been trying to get those opportunities and finally breaks one, and you kind of heard it, that even if you're watching on ESPN Plus, you're talking about like how it's, you try to get your first one, you finally do it. It's kind of like the floodgates finally open. You start getting more in there. And for Nystrom, he's been someone who's been really wanting to try to get his first goal. Of course, he gets his first point on just Kotkaniemi's goal way earlier in the season. Now he gets that kind of, reciprocated from KK. That's kind of funny how they brought up. It's like, oh yeah, that's what, Finns and Swedes do. They find a way to help each other out. So And like how Joel's like, yeah, it's the Scandinavian thing where it's like it kind of just works out to where you get the Swede helping out the Finn earlier in the season, and another Finn helps the Swede out later on too. But yeah, it wasn't the end effort that you want, not the ending you want where the Hurricanes lost the shootout. You don't get the second point, but I think regardless of the fact that, it's a great milestone moment, and great on Mark Jankowski for going to get the puck for, Nystrom. And it's a milestone. It's a great moment to at least say that, hey, you got your first NHL goal and you got it in your first season. Thankfully, yeah, it took 36 games, but I mean, either way, if you really look at it, it got done. Like, you got the point, you got the goal. That's what you really wanted. And yeah, you wish the effort, wish the ending was a little bit better, but in the end, it's something that you can, celebrate and be happy about. And, talk about, Alexander and Nikishin, just how those two have been, they've been playing great together, which is kind of, you didn't think, usually you don't see two young guys kind of paired up together, but just the way Nikishin and Nystrom have kind of, balanced each other out, it's kind of really worked out. And how about Alexander and Nikishin too? Just absolutely just first NHL fight, throws a clean hit on, Lardis. And one of those ones where, you see Oliver Moore coming in trying to fight him. And then even Lardis was like, I don't think you want to do this. And I like the fact that Nikishin just shrugged his shoulders. He's like, all right, I guess we're doing this. And he just drops his gloves. And then in the span of like 9 seconds, just hits him with 3 shots and, wins a decisive fight. And it was Moore's 21st birthday. So it's like, yeah, I mean, that's one way to celebrate your 21st, birthday by getting, done in 3 punches. But give him credit. He did win the game for the Hawks in the shootout. But yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that Alexander Nikishin just absolutely just rocked Moore for 3 quick ones in a fight. But, Nikishin's been playing great. But yeah, I think just the pairing between him and Joel Nystrom has been really good for the Carolina Hurricanes. And I think that how long they've been paired together for this season, and of course, we'll see how next season goes with, when Shane Gostisbehere comes back, how do you, where do you, I think, it's probably, Nystrom goes back down to Chicago. Then we roll to next season and see where we're at with defense pairings there, because you got a couple of guys in the last years of their contracts. But I think moving forward, I would not be surprised if this is a pairing that we see, for a good bit once, all the contracts and all that stuff shakes out. Because Nikishin, he's going to be an RFA after this season. So I would assume that he will get a contract extension with the Hurricanes. And there's been a lot of rumors that the Hurricanes have been kind of, if there's a big fish for them to get, like a Quinn Hughes or another big defenseman or sub one, that they'd be open to it. I don't see them moving a guy like Alexander Nikishin, the fact that they've waited for so long for this guy. So I don't understand where these kind of rumors came about. But for me, I think personally, I'm not saying I've been told anything. It's just, I just don't see the Hurricanes moving on from a guy like him. So I think, Nikishin is going to sign the extension. And I think that, in the future, probably next season or the season after, depending on how the contracts, play out, I can see Nikishin and Nystrom being a great defensive pairing for a little while. And that would not be a bad group to have when you look at, you got Slavin and Walker for a little while longer because, Walker's in his second year of his 5-year deal. Slavin's in his first year of his 8-year contract. So I'm just, when you get Nikishin and Nystrom for a little while, I think it'd be a great defensive pairing to have. But big congratulations to Nystrom. I wish, they got the win for him, but in the end, hey, you got your first NHL goal. You'll be happy to at least get that for sure. So they did speak with Joel Nystrom, but they also spoke with Rod Brind'Amour. So what did the head coach say following the loss? Well, stick around. We'll listen to that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So we just heard from Nystrom. Now we're going to listen to Rod Brind'Amour and get his thoughts following the shootout loss against the Chicago Blackhawks. on Thursday night. So without further ado, let's listen and react to that right now.
Rod, did it kind of feel like this one kind of came out to the power play going essentially -1 for 5?
Yeah, it was a tough night for those guys. We did have some good looks. Just we didn't bury them, and then you can't give up short. Tight game, so that's probably, when you look back, that's the difference.
Do you like the way your guys handle bump-up shifts and responding to their goals?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough get down, and we just kept playing, and it's a good play by Stanks there to get us right back in the game, get us a point. Had our opportunity, and obviously shootouts, whatever. That get to that point, it is what it is. But like I said, I think you hit it on the head.
You see Nikishin kind of grow up as a defenseman this year. You see another side to him tonight.
Well, I guess we're learning some new things about him. Can obviously handle himself if need be. So, we don't necessarily want to see him doing that a lot, but I mean, obviously he can handle himself. So, good to see.
As a coach, do you try to look at the games you chase into overtime, even if they are in the L column? But do you try to see the positive in those games as you evaluate them, because you're staving off a loss in regulation?
Yeah. Well, then you're going to do both always. If you win the game or not, or lose it, you're going to find positive and negatives, and obviously work with both. And there's some good things in that game. Not a lot, but there was. I like what push back, getting it right back to it, get a goal to tie it up a couple times. That's great. But why did we get down? So I'll figure that out too. So wasn't a great game by us, top guys, and kind of non-factors, and so. But that's more probably on the power play stuff when they're out there. We gotta make it count.
Nystrom arrived here probably earlier than expected, but it took him a while to finally get a goal.
He's had a ton of opportunities just like that, so it was nice to see him finally, get one. Obviously, it was a big goal at the time. So, that's it's been, like you said, it's been a while waiting for that one.
We see you guys practice the shootouts a lot in practices and whatnot. Does that go into the kind of
Yeah.
philosophy of who you select for these?
Yep. So we, obviously it's not one of our fortes. So, but we practice them every day, and some guys have some moves, and you think, and it's different in a live game. That's a bit of the problem. So, but like I said, their goalie made some good saves tonight. Freddie did too in the shootout. It is what it is.
Freddie, overall, it seems like I know it's a lost column tonight, but it seems like he's gotten back to maybe having a little confidence.
He played pretty well, I thought. I mean, and you take the shootout. Obviously, he was really good. Made some good saves there, but there was a, like I said, I mean, that game is not about goaltending. That's for sure. Their guy played good, and our guy did too. It was other areas we needed to be better.
Big thank you to Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes as always. And I think that you heard it from him. It's one of those things where the shootouts are really their forte. They do practice it every practice. I've seen them do it. It's just trying to, who does well there kind of translates into who gets picked. I know a lot of people were kind of like, okay, why wasn't Nikolai Ehlers there? Is what it is. And like he said, you get to the shootout, it is what it is, and it's not their forte. It's completely different in game situations. So it's just, at least you got the point. And give credit to Freddie, man. Like, he made some big saves when he needed to. I can't really blame. The first one is, okay, yeah, it's kind of a good rebound opportunity. He should have had it. Unfortunately, Mikheyev was able to pick up his own rebound. Could have been a little bit of a help there from the defense, maybe. I mean, you really can't turn it over on a power play. Like Brian Henkel said, he asked the question, -1 for 5 for the power play. Like, not even going 0 for 5. They went -1 because of the shorty. It's just, and Rod's like, yeah, you can't give up a shorty in a tight game like that. And, you go 0 for 5. And the thing that really stood out for me was the fact that he talked about how it was the big guys didn't really, he said they were kind of non-factors, because you look at, it's a Jackson Blake goal, second line. You're looking at Jordan Stahl goal, third line. Joe Nystrom defense, like those were the goals. And the guys who contributed were all, it was, second line doing the second line things, which you love to see, but it's also third and fourth lines doing their jobs too. So it's, and it stinks that you go 0 for 5 really on the power play. You'll get 6 shot opportunities, and like I said, give the credit to the Hawks. They are the second best, or now they're the first PK in the league. Should have gotten a little bit better opportunities. It's just you get a lot of chances and you don't cash in. That's kind of what hurts in a close game like this. And of course, giving away a shorty doesn't help either. So it's just it's a very limited number of positives, but you at least, got your first angel goal that we saw from Nystrom. Alexander Nikishin, you see that he can stick up for himself. The Hurricanes didn't really roll over and make this game go sideways. They, like I said, they scored a goal within 5 minutes of each goal that the Blackhawks scored in the game. There was some tenacity. They didn't give up. It's just, that's one of those games where you kind of wish you got the full 2 points and, didn't really have to go to a shootout. Should have taken care of business when you needed to, because I can see you get 5 power plays. Should have cashed in at least one of them. So and Rod said it wasn't a goaltending issue. It was just the fact that you really didn't cash in on your power plays and you let them score shorthanded. And, you've been seeing what the top line's been doing recently, with, Jarvis, Aho, and Svechnikov, and you kind of wish, that was more of a cohesive group that got the job done. I mean, Seth Jarvis led the entire team with 4 shots, so it wasn't like he was doing nothing. Like, he was very noticeable in the game, but you kind of just wish that you saw more out of, all the top guys to get the job done. But it's a long season. It's 82 games. The Hurricanes are 31-15-5. I'm not going to, put this as they should have, this, like, what are they doing? They should have won this game. It's just, and you guys hear me say it every night. It's anyone can beat anyone league. The Hawks have talent. I mean, we clearly see that they do. All the young guys are kind of clicking. I mean, I think it's 22 goals from the rookies, which is like third in the league. And I think the Hawks rookies overall lead with 77 points. So let's be honest, it's not the Hawks. They're not a team that's just easy to roll over and stuff like that. So it's just one of those things where you wish you got the 2 points from the Hurricanes, but in the end, I mean, we all know what the real measuring stick is. The barometer of where the Hurricanes are at success-wise comes to the playoffs. It's just get into the regular season as healthy as you can. If you try to go for the number 1 seed in the East, that'd be great because you get home ice advantage to the playoffs. But we all know that what really matters is the Hurricanes being successful in the playoffs. That's what you really need to see. And I'm not saying the regular season doesn't matter because you want to see guys play well, but it's just, it's not like you're hanging, emotions or you're hanging on to every loss or win. Yeah, you want to see them win too, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. And we know that the playoffs matter more. So it's just kind of getting there and seeing where the roster looks at by the time, round 1 starts, in late April. So it is what it is. You kind of chalk it up to what, it happens like that. Hurricanes do practice on Friday, and then they travel and they play the Ottawa Senators on Saturday, which, from what I heard, is supposed to be really, really cold in Ottawa. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. But it's the Hurricanes. I think they're going to be fine. They're going to bounce back and get the win. So it should be interesting to see how it plays out when it comes out on Saturday night against Ottawa. But, you got a point. You saw Joe Nystrom score his first goal. You'll take the positives and move on from there. But, guys, this will be the Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of the day. If you've never missed an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On Hurricanes ad-free, plus a members-only Discord access and more. Click the link in the show notes or the description to join the club today. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen AHL Game Night on Locked On AHL. If you want to keep up with me and my one true Zach on X, the podcast is @L_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin. Where if you click the link in my bio, you can find all my written content at thehockeywriters.com. If you want to check out my other podcast, it's the Searchcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For Locked On Hurricanes, you can find us on Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. For YouTube, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notifications, don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up, tell me if you like the show as well. Share with other Kings to become everydayers just like you. But Hope everyone enjoyed the Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Enjoy your Friday and your weekend. Until next time, as always, let's go Canes.